So a lot of people fail their ACRP exam on their first attempt. After talking to these folks, I found a couple of patterns that show up again and again. And if you're making any of these mistakes, yeah, you probably need to stop and reevaluate. So let's just dive right into these common topics. Um, let's see. Mistake number one, I would say, is memorizing instead of truly understanding. Here's what I mean by that. You memorize those ICH, GCP, you memorize it as 13 principles. You memorize the definition of an adverse event. You memorize protocol deviation categories, things like that. But then the exam day comes and the questions aren't necessarily asking for the definitions, they're giving you scenarios. So, you know, a participant reports feeling dizzy during a visit. The study coordinator documents this in the source document, but doesn't report it as an adverse event because the dizziness resolved within 2 hours. What should have happened? So you need to apply the knowledge, not just recite it. The fix for every concept you study, for example, you should create 3 scenarios. Practice applying the knowledge, not just memorizing the facts. Memorizing is good for the exam, but not for the real world. Mistake number 2 would be ignoring the why behind the regulations. Very important. Most people read the ICH GCP guidelines like a grocery list. Section 1.1 check, section 1.2 check. But the exam tests whether you understand the why behind these regulations and why they exist. Why do people need informed consent? A bad answer would be because it's required by regulations. A good answer would be to protect participant autonomy and to ensure they understand the risks before volunteering. It's one of the principles of the Belmont Report. These exams love questions about rationale behind the requirements. So to rectify this, every time you study a regulation, just ask yourself, what problem is this solving? What would happen without this rule? Mistake number 3 would be studying everything equally. The thing is, not all topics appear equally on the exam. Some are more represented than others. But most people spend the same amount of time on rare topics that they do on the common ones. So I think roughly a breakdown of the exam topics by percentages, if I'm remembering, just off the top of my head, I would say clinical trial process would be 25%, regulatory and ethics another 25%, study management maybe 20%, data management 15%, safety reporting 15%. So if you're spending an equal amount of time on every chapter of your book or whatever notes you're studying from, you're not using your time efficiently. Use the 80-20 rule, Pareto's principle. So spend 80% of the time on 20% of the most common topics. That way you get your more bang for your buck. Mistake number 4 would be not practicing under exam conditions. Reading about clinical research is completely different from answering scenario-based questions under time pressure, which is what the exam is, by the way. It's a timed exam. They give you about 3 hours, I believe, to answer 125 questions. It comes down to about a minute plus per question. So if you've only ever studied from textbooks and never practiced timed questions, you may run out of time. It's a very real thing. So I'd recommend you take at least 5 full practice exams under real conditions, no notes, no phones, and that way you can practice to manage your time and your mental energy. Mistake number 5 would be studying alone without any feedback. When you study alone, you don't know what you don't know. You think you understand informed consent, but you're missing a critical nuance that shows up on the exam. For example, what to do when there's a protocol amendment. The best test takers get feedback. They practice questions, they check their answers, and they read the explanations for the answers that they got right and wrong. So right and wrong. You want to use a question bank with detailed explanations. Join study groups that teach concepts to someone else, You can find these places online as well. And if you can't explain it clearly, unfortunately, you don't understand it well enough. Speaking about practice questions, I put together 50 very commonly missed questions with complete explanations. It's totally free. The link is down below in the description. Go ahead and check that out. And the reason why I put that question bank together is because when I was studying for my ACRP exam last year, I couldn't find the question bank that had all the topics in one place that simulated real exam conditions. And that's sort of why I had that question bank designed. Give it a try. Let me know what you think. If you have any suggestions, feel free to hit me back and let me know. Drop a comment, drop a like, and thank you all. I'll see you in the next video. I got some other stuff coming up. Bye-bye.